Hello? Is this thing on? Are we here? Yeah, I think it's on. Hi, here we go. We're going to skip the usual intro, as I think that everybody knows all about it. It's Kerbal Space Program. Okay, here's this little Kerbal guy. He's laughing. He's happy. We're doing mods. We have clouds on the surface of Kerbin. That's kind of cool, if you ask me. Unfortunately, I could not do the upgraded high-def skybox. Here we go. 64 scale production is what I have named this save. So-called because I'm using the real solar system mod, except we're not doing it quite real. I think if we did Kerbin to a full 1-to-1 Earth size, I tried this a little bit, and it ends up being not quite so much fun as I like. And also has just violently distorted the surface of Kerbin. Regex, or maybe his name is pronounced Regex, is a modder who put a lot of work, and he put together a mod. Hang on here. Come on, let's click on here. He put together a configuration for the real solar system mod, in which, here we go. Let's go Kerbin. Our equatorial radius, 3840 kilometers here. Atmosphere, scale height, atmosphere up to 91.182. Look at that. Yeah, so we have to get over 92 kilometers. Yeah, he put together a configuration for the real solar system mod, in which we're keeping the game's original orientation, the original arrangement of all of the planets and moons. We have not renamed any of them, but everything is scaled up. It is scaled up to where it's just about exactly, 0.64 of real Earth size. I've played around with that just a little bit, and I think it is just about the ideal balance between realism and fun. Going the 1-to-1 size, making Kerbin to be a replica of Earth as far as size and gravity and everything, I believe that ends up becoming more real and less fun. The game starts being work. I've gone through and I was just playing around with things. The theme that I happen to do here, in respect for some of my RAM limits, is that I am attempting to use very, very few parts mods. We're using a few of them. The AIES pack, as it has several, excellent engines, as well as some other probe parts, and almost all of my parts. What I'm using here, real fuels and the stretchy fuel tanks. Stretchy fuel tanks, procedural parts, anything where I can take just a couple of parts and reuse them for all kinds of things. I played around with this, and I made some rockets. There's my 1-ton lifter with here we'll close that up. So yeah, boring old rocket, just so I could figure out how to launch something on the 64 scale. Here we go, 15-ton lifter. Let's take a look at that. I don't know, the rockets are so boring that I don't even feel the need to give them any kind of exciting name. It's just a 15-ton lifter. That's all it is. And having put those together just to get some practice with how these procedural parts work and real fuels, and figure out about how much delta V we're looking at to get orbit in the 64 scale. Really, I think I'm probably never going to use those again. Let's get out of there. Rockets are boring. Maybe I shouldn't say never again. But yeah, let's get over here. Much, much more familiar environment would be the space plane hangar. We did a little bit more things. See, I didn't want to record just every tiny little bit of just every stumbling step of just figuring out how things work. I already got Spork 5 put together. Let's load Spork 5. Come on, game, let's go. Here we go. There's Spork 5. Whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. Here, let's click on this. And there's a perspective. It's more comfortable to look at it. I got tired of, why are external fuel tanks always orange? I decided to go with this whole black and white scheme. All right. Yeah. As in previous video series, I'm really leaning away with, I figure I'm pretty much done with having internal cargo bays. Those end up being a whole lot more trouble than they're worth. In this case, you know, we're putting the payload. Well, yeah, the payload here this will be a test payload just to demonstrate the concept. We get a test payload that goes there. We've got a conic side fairing. Oops. There we go. That'll go on there. Yeah, and so the payload goes inside of there, and then, you know, once we get into orbit, those things jettison off there. The payload, we turn the payload loose, and whenever it's time to come back in, oops, I did not mean to click on that way. No. Oh, I keep on forgetting. Yeah, forgetting that decoupler is actually the root part. Yeah. Okay, hang on here. Let me see which is Control Shift. There we go. That's the root part. There we go. And then, yeah, and then when it's time to re-enter, that thing comes off, and this thing can come back. What I've learned a few things in just experimenting around with this, using the 64 scale. See, I had to start over with figuring things out, and of course using deadly re-entry, and of course using Ferrum's aerospace research. It turns out that we need to have a vehicle that, in order not to burn up, because deadly reentry actually turns pretty damn deadly whenever you're dealing with stuff that's even approaching real scales, we need to have a vehicle that can glide up at Mach, I forget the Mach number, Mach 12-ish, up above 50 kilometers altitude. And it has to be able to maintain altitude in a glide, which ends up being a equivalent airspeed of around 100 meters per second. So there's Spork 5. This one could just barely do that. I don't really imagine I'm going to be launching a whole lot of 5-ton payloads. So now we get into what I'm actually going to be working on in the course of the video. Spork 10X. X stands for experimental. Turns out, oh, yeah, I never did mention it. Spork. This is space plane, orbit and return, and it carries a Kerbal. It's Kerbled. It's not manned, it's Kerbled. So yeah, space plane, orbital return, Kerbled. 10X, experimental, as we have not yet launched this thing into space. It is supposed to be able to launch a payload of 10 tons, but haven't actually done it yet. I've tried it out as an airplane. Here, we'll actually go for a little test flight just to demonstrate this. Here, let's launch this thing. Yeah, it works as an airplane. Come on, game, let's go. Oh, is it going to crash? Is it going to crash? No, it did not crash. How about that? Excellent. Here, let's see. Let's turn off that thing there, and let's turn this on. But we have not, yeah, it works as an airplane, but we have not yet attempted to use it as a spaceship. Here we go. Let's turn the precision control on. I've got these engines just for the time being set up so that they're running on kerosene, just so that they won't burn well as I'm doing this whole test flight business. And a little bit of backwards trim there. Have not loaded any custom Kerbals in there yet, so we're still dealing with good old Jebediah Kerman. Here we go, and the thing just leaps right off of the ground. Whoa! Okay, see, I got panicked and I throttled back too much. Yeah, we've got lots and lots and lots of lift here. Actually, got that trim back too much. Okay, I'm thinking that my wings and my elevators may be, you know, it's because it's got the all-moving tail there, may actually end up being a bit too much, may have too much wing area for too light a vehicle. We may have some real problems decelerating as through the transonic region. I anticipate that the thing will probably get pretty unstable there. However, I bet you we'll decelerate through that range pretty quickly, and we'll be able to regain control and fly it. Yeah. So here it is. Here's the airplane, and even with this, let me see. Let's just try something. We throttle back. Take a look at that equivalent airspeed. If we get it down to, yeah, there's 100 meters per second. Guess what? I'm still able to maintain altitude at this speed, and even lower. I anticipate that this vehicle should be able to re-enter just fine. What is the stalling speed on this thing? Yeah, we're getting down there to 50. Less than 50. Still no stall. Nose is start. Okay, we're starting to lose pitch authority. Whoop, there we go. Drops a wing in the stall. Let's get that nose lined up here, guys. Come on. There we go. Yeah. Matter of fact, we may, seeing as it can fly so very slowly and still maintain all kinds of pitch control, I imagine if re-entry, if this first configuration doesn't work out, I imagine we may actually be interested in going and shrinking those wings some more. But we're going to try this configuration first. Whee. Yeah. Airplane handles just beautifully. This is the traditional space shuttle orbiter configuration. Remember, in reality, that thing barely worked. And so I am just no longer going to be bothered too much with attempting to duplicate it or anything like it. We'll just make a thing really, the designs that I need to look for is something that looks pretty much like a fighter jet. That's the kind of thing I need to be looking at. Something that has lots and lots and lots of lift and pitch authority at some of the higher Mach speeds. So the kind of shapes that give us that. That's what I need to be looking at. And you know what? I'm not really interested in doing the whole landing. Revert flight, revert spaceplane hangar. Alright, so it works as an airplane. Now the issue is to make it work as a lifting vehicle. Alright, so a few things we're going to do first. Here, let's click on this and let's fold these things up. Very happy to have the ability to do that. In order to toggle those things back and forth. That's been something long desired. Oh yeah, we've got these fantastic engines. Now I went and forgot the actual name of the parts pack. Does it say on here? Yeah, from Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martian, my apologies. Yeah, fantastic space shuttle engines. Oh, I love these things. Fantastic mod. I love them. I love them a lot. And they're already angled and they're smart so that they will attempt to continue to put the thrust through the center of mass. But they still, in order to trim these things out, here's what I've done. Go to action groups, we take a look, and let's go. Oh, I haven't done it on these. Here, let's load Spork 5. Load Spork 5. We'll see what I've done. Here we go. Take a look at action groups. Okay, here is what I did. I put my action group number 1s, toggle that on and off, because I want those engines to turn off when we get rid of the external fuel tank. And then, because I've got a weird keyboard, I can reach these number 7 and number 8 very easily. It turns out that in order to keep from fighting this thing during launch the whole time, you can manually trim the engine gimbal, you know, what it considers to be its neutral gimbal angle through the action group menu. So it ends up launching just almost exactly like the same method which I invented so long ago using the damned robotics hinges. It turns out those skills developed using that are still very useful in making this thing launch. So I'm very happy about that. Very happy. So, yeah, it's worth mentioning that I'm thinking in this particular save file, in order to minimize the number of times that I've had things just, it's so demoralizing. I've put together this fantastic thing and it just explodes because I'm experimenting around with all these kind of like half dodgy mods and the thing just doesn't work. I'm really, really tired of things exploding when they should work. I mean, it's one thing when Kerbal Space Program explodes because it's a shoddy design or you piloted it wrong. That's part of the game. But whenever the game just glitches, it bugs, and things explode. I'm tired of that. I really want to minimize that. So I'm no longer using any of the Infernal Robotics parts. I am not using any of the Kerbal attachment system. A whole lot of these other commonly used parts. No, they're gone. I'm not doing that. We're really minimizing the use of a bunch of those. I suppose you could say it's kind of dodgy. We're using all these stretchy tanks and the procedural structural parts and procedural wings, but those so far, so far, have been much less dodgy than others. They don't have to be pointing just perfectly straight ahead. Sure, that works. Okay, Spork 10X. Save this configuration. Now this is more space-worthy, isn't it? And I put monopropellant in this tank. I've got my liquid H2, liquid oxygen in here, which is what my OMS engines. We're running not exactly the traditional space shuttle arrangement, but because we've got the 3 main engines and we've got 3 OMS engines, all of those running on liquid H2, liquid oxygen. All right, good stuff, huh? Okay, now that all works. Now let's go ahead and take a look at setting up this external fuel tank. Something if we've got this landing gear sitting as kind of a bump right there, that means that any of these flat, these flat flush decouplers, that's not going to work for us. So we need a decoupler that kind of extends out there some. So I think we're actually going to use, this radial decoupler, this little thing that was like the first decoupler, the first radial decoupler in the game way back then. Put it right there. Yeah, it looks like it just barely clears, but clear it does. Let's get the... Oh, we need to check our staging too, don't we? Okay, let's give this its own stage right there. I want all 6 of these engines are going to run at launch. And I need to set these things up so they're running liquid H2 oxygen. Give it the highest tech level, because what's the point of even doing any of the lower tech levels? Here we go. We'll just double check that all my OMS engines are also running at the highest. There we go. Good. And I also... No, wait a second. Oh, I forgot in a second here. I want to give all of these... I need to set up the action groups. Okay, now if I remember correctly, I went ahead, I took the booster stack off that other one. Yeah, this is the booster stack that I was working with on some other... Oh, it's already got its decoupler there and everything. Here, let's go and take that decoupler off of there. Thank you. Come on. There we go. And we'll stick it on there. Of course, it's much too small for what we're doing, so we're going to have to modify it. Now, the Kerbal Engineer, it was giving me some problems before. I mean, I worked out with my rockets that I needed about 9,000 delta V in order to get something to orbit, but then whenever I was working with Spork 5, I gave it 9,000 delta V. It turned out to be nowhere near enough. I think Kerbal Engineer doesn't know how to deal with, since I'm using real fuels and everything, that I think it doesn't know how to deal with the different way what am I trying to say, the difference in delta V at sea level versus vacuum, whereas in the stock game, the lower delta V, then it just changes how much fuel is used, whereas in reality and when using the real fuels mod, no, it's an engine, a given rocket engine can produce its best thrust at sea level or in vacuum, or theoretically at some other altitude somewhere in between, but it's the thrust that changes with that. Whereas the actual fuel consumption stays relatively constant. But we need almost double the amount of delta V is what we need to do. So what I'm going to do is highlight this thing. Let's make this longer. You can see my delta V is actually shrinking. What I've done is I've put, since liquid oxygen is heavier, is significantly heavier than liquid hydrogen, it actually works out the weight distribution wise. We want the liquid oxygen up front. I don't want them both mixed in the same tank. So what I do is I grow this, I grow this one out a little bit, and then we grow this one out some more. And keeping an eye on that delta V number, you can see it increasing all the time. Whoop, until it starts decreasing again. And that way I can make certain that my hydrogen tank and my liquid oxygen tank, that they end up being balanced. So I know it's going to have to be pretty large. I'll probably end up with a, as compared to the real shuttle and real Buran, we'll probably have an external fuel tank that's a lot longer and skinnier than those. But I think it'll work out. It'll be okay. I think it actually looks better that way. And it is more aerodynamic. I don't know how to tell the engineer that at a certain point that whenever after this thing detaches, I'm also going to shut off the main engines. We're only going to be using the OMS engine. So that's probably a large part of why with Spork 5, some of my numbers were getting kind of unreasonable. Not really reading correctly. Okay, let's continue to grow this thing. Thrust to weight ratio dropping down just right at 2. So eventually we're going to have to increase the size of these solid rocket boosters, but we're not there yet. Yeah, we are not there yet. And there's things we can do. I'm going to split this in after I figure out how much liquid H2 we need to carry. I'm going to split this into 2 fuel tanks in order to have more of the fuel tank extending forward instead of hanging all back here like that. Okay, now let's see, how much bigger do we need to make my solid rocket boosters in order to get our thrust to weight ratio higher? Yeah, well, 1.75, that's okay. Yeah, let's take it up to 2. Why not? You can see that also adds delta V. I just want to get that thing to where it clicks up to 2. Okay, and again, yeah, the proportions are strange, but we're going to go back and fix that later. Okay, now let's grow that tank again some more. And see if we can get our delta V up to hit at least 9. Let's do it this way. 3.25. Yep, okay, that's about as much as we're going to get out of that. Alright, cool. Ain't that exciting. Alright, but now the proportions are all weird, but that's something that we can fix. Let's take a look at this thing. How much does this thing have? Yeah, 247,460. Alright, so now I just need to have 2 tanks. Be 247,460. Okay, so now the plan is take that off of there. Bang, stick that on there. Stick that thing on there, and we're going to shrink this thing down dramatically. And this thing did remember, yeah, it's got H2. There we go. Stick that onto there. Oh, and now we've got a reasonable delta V happening again. Okay, yeah, proportions-wise, we're beginning to get closer to what I want. Do we want to go ahead and make these things even bigger still? Increase our thrust to weight ratio there, and also our delta V. Yeah, let's make them kind of fatter. How about that idea? Okay, so this is looking like the numbers may work. This thrust to weight ratio, remember, it's not going to be actual all of 1.9, because that would be kind of like a bit much, as these engines are going to be making less thrust than they're rated at. You know what, I should change the staging. It occurs to me that since these OMS engines, since these things, since they're definitely supposed to be working in a vacuum a whole lot more, I think we're actually using these guys. No, wait a second. Oh, it's these guys. I was wrong. I should actually give them a separate stage. We'll put those up here. Because it'd be just kind of wasted thrust to have those things going right at launch. And we'd actually get more delta V. We wouldn't mean it's wasted fuel. They hardly thrust anything worth mentioning for launch. We'll do better if we, if we light those things off once we get high enough, a very high atmosphere where it's almost vacuum anyway. And because Ferrum, same guy did Ferrum's aerospace research, same as also got this other fantastic mod going, the Kerbal joint reinforcement. I've got barely any struts on this thing as it is. I mean, I think I've got a couple of struts in the wings, 2 struts to keep the tail rigid. We're just going to do just a very few struts to hold the whole thing together. Here to try and keep this from wiggling back and forth too much. Yeah, that works well. Some of my early tests with the Spork 5, which it's kind of a marginal vehicle. It was a test. I don't feel bad for not recording that one. It's not going to be useful for very much at all. But it turns out, that I didn't need any Separatrons for that vehicle either. I was able to have all the boosters and the external fuel tank and everything separate cleanly without a single Separatron. So we're going to try it this time without any. It's looking kind of like a monster. Alright, pull that off. That's our test weight. Let me see. I wanted one of these things, guy. Yeah, this is the one I wanted. I thought I clicked on that. Get that thing. Wanted it. Make certain that I've got that hooked up to the right thing. Let me see. Each. Yes, I do. Good. About 12 of them. That'll work. Okay, now we have very basic power generation. There we go. Okay, now let's take aerodynamic. Let's go with our conic side fairings. Put one on there like that. And get it to attach to the correct node right about there. Now I want these two fairings to kind of blend together. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so we'll blow all of our payload fairings, the inner stage fairings and the nose, the tip fairings, will blow them all in the same stage. And then this decoupler jettisons the payload, and that decoupler jettisons the whole apparatus that holds the thing in place. Good. Good. Yeah, let me see, I'm not thinking of anything else that needs done right away. Let's try and launch it. I need to remember to shut this tank off immediately before launch. Yeah, it's ready to go. Save it again. Launch. Let's hit it. See what happens, huh? What's the worst that could happen?